Next game we're talking about is Dance Dance Revolution 3rdmix, which was nominated by at Daehoryserhw. Daehoyserhw. I'm very sorry if that's like a word in your language, and I can't.
I believe
I'm
it's
just very
gonna be
sorry.
read backwards.
Oh, where's your head? There you go.
Huh.
That was downright clever, Bobinator. So pretend I was not confused by that. It was developed by Konami and published by Konami for the arcade. Earliest release date and territory seems to be October 30th, 1999 in Japan. What can we possibly say about this one? I mean, I guess somebody just spit some knowledge about the Dance Dance Revolution series and Konami's input into the music game genre.
Okay, as far as I know, has there really been any music peripheral game before Konami stuff? Because I don't think there really is. Like, outside of, like, the keyboards that was, like, the Miracle keyboard and the one they had for the Famicom. Like, Doremiko made one, but I don't think there's anything quite like DDR.
Does the power pad count? If we wanted to go back that far.
Not really. I mean, like, the DDR mat is styled after it. But anyway, at the end of the 90s, I'm not sure of the complete timeline, like, Konami had just created all these different music-themed games. They had Dance Dance Revolution with the dance pad. They had Guitar Freaks with guitar, Drum Freaks with drums, Beatmania with a little, like, fake DJ thing. And DDR is the one that I got into most back in probably, like, 1999 or 2000. When I was in college, we took regular trips to New York City. And down in Chinatown, there was this really cool underground mall that was, like, the whole Chinatown area was, like, the center of New York's nerddom, at least at that time. And that was where Chinatown Fair was, which in addition to all the fighting game stuff that people talk about, they also had a DDR machine. But in this underground mall... Yeah, did we take
the hole in the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually there once somehow. It was very humble.
It's very sad now. They repainted the walls and was all redemption game junk.
The CTF, as I knew then, it was moved somewhere else. Or was it just entirely thrown out?
It was chucked, basically. I mean, the scene might have moved somewhere else. But anyway, so that was where I got accustomed to DDR. They had, like, at least 3 or 4 Japanese import stores down there. And that's where you could buy all the mats and all the things like that. So for a while, DDR was something that was only found through importing or through a very, very, very select amount of arcades. Like, in the early DDR scene, there was websites that just listed all the places in America where you could actually find this stuff. The thing is, getting into it was expensive because you need to have a modded system or something like that. You need to get the games, which are $50, $60, $70 a pop. And then you need to get the mat, which imported was another $70, $80. And these were really, at the time, really poor quality mats. They were called the diaper mats just because of the things that they were created out of. It just looked and felt and squished like a diaper.
Mine broke within 10 hours.
Yeah, they were not super great quality either for the amount of money that you had to pay for it. But anyway, in my college anime and video game club, one of us or two of us had gotten a mat, and I had a mod chip PlayStation that we had both legitimate and illegitimate burns of the DDR games that we would play. And it had a really broad appeal because you could get somebody who didn't know anything about video games like, oh, this is dancing. It's not really dancing. It's just pressing arrows in sequence. But it looked like new and interesting and weird. Like, it didn't look cool, but it just looked fun. So you get a lot of people who weren't necessarily good at it but want to try it just because it was neat and it had fun dance music and things like that. But at the time, Konami of America had no idea how to handle, like, this stuff was really popular in Japan, but over here they just didn't have the faith that this would ever perform well at all, in addition to all the extra money that people would need to spend on it. So I forget the date, but they eventually did release an American Dance Dance Revolution, which literally nobody liked. One of the main problems that people had with it was they did not like to license songs at all. Like, the Japanese versions had not like songs straight from the artist. They were all like dance mix versions of them that were like a minute and a half that made it suitable for that sort of gameplay. But that's how a lot of this music spread. Like Smile DK, the Swedish pop band, got their a lot of their press from the song Butterfly, which was on DDR 3rdmix, and there's another song that DDR 2nd mix, I'm sorry, and then there's another song they did on 3rdmix that was also pretty good. But anyway, the American version, they just didn't want to do any of the songs that people liked. And a bunch of the songs that they had anyway were just from Konami's in-house composers, and they included on there because they didn't have to pay royalties. So nobody liked that first release. There was a Disney mix version that I think they may have made specifically for the American audience. I can't really remember, but I skipped that because I didn't really care. But at the same time, there's all these versions they were putting out in Japan up until, I want to say, like 6mix or so, in addition to like spin-off discs that they put out before they eventually moved on to the PS2. I think we're talking specifically about 3rdmix, which that was one of the big ones at the time just because the song selection was pretty good. I ended up playing a lot of 5th-mix at the time because they fixed their engine up so it ran at a higher resolution and a higher frame rate. So I always felt it as a smoother 60 frames a second. It just felt a little bit more responsive. And then from there, it kind of moved to the PS2 where they did a bunch of stuff. And then they even released some for the Xbox, which I think were also made specifically for the American audience. Like, I'm pretty sure they were developed by the team in Hawaii. And they actually put out and did a little bit more effort to license American songs on there. Like they had like Basement Jacks and a couple of other songs. Like not super big names, but names I guess they felt that Americans would resonate with a little bit more. The thing is, they didn't really seem to push it all that much. Like, it's in general, it only found popularity because that was about the same time that Guitar Hero was coming out, and all of a sudden they realized that there actually was a lot of money that they could make in the music peripheral business. So they kept pumping out those, but at the same time they had all those other games. Like, they really, 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 really missed the boat on Guitar Freaks, because Guitar Freaks is Guitar Hero. Like, other than like the way it's presented, it's basically the same exact game. But they had the same issue that they sort of had with DDRs, that they didn't want to license tracks. A lot of it was their own music, which is pretty good. But people liked Guitar Hero because they could play, all their favorite songs and things like that, which I guess Konami didn't feel was worth the licensing for. So they never even...
It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
With guitar, because with the guitar games, you're really into playing the song, and it kind of like, yeah, I'm totally playing my song that I like. Whereas with DDR, the music doesn't matter as much in the sense that, there, as you said, there are minute 30 mixes of songs that are sort of made to jump around on a pad. Not all songs fit that, so I understand at least making mixes of songs in that regard for DDR.
Yeah, it even made sense just from a pure gameplay perspective, like Guitar Freaks, because there's a lot of like really popular songs like Guitar Hero and Rock Band that just playing it from a pure like gameplay perspective they're not like great songs, depending especially on the instrument that you're using. But people don't care because they just want to play along with the songs that they like. But I mean, there are different DDR mixes that I prefer just based on the music, just because it's fun to listen to that sort of music. And a lot of the stuff they licensed was just from those like generic dance mix CDs. But they had a pretty good ear for that sort of stuff that built up the sort of fan bases.
So in conclusion, you're telling me that Freebird would make a poor DDR trick.
Yeah.
You'd probably die of exhaustion before anyone got to finish that.
I'm just picturing like when it gets down to like the crazy ripping guitar solo, like you're just jogging in place as fast as you can. Like,
you should see the like ultimate high level DDR songs are so insane. Like they're nothing else. It's just you have to have like 3 legs, right?
I've seen people.
That's how you beat these.
Do it. A lot of it is at least in the arcade machines. They had this little bar that you could hold on to and lead up against. In the home things with the map they had.
The arcade version much better in that you had a bar and they were metal pads so that you actually could stamp on them.
Well,
whereas
they weren't metal.
A diaper pad doesn't work.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I actually got into I played DDR in college just because it was like I was the import video game guy and I needed to show it off and stuff like that. Even though I had friends that were like better at it, but one day when I decided, hey, I'm too fat, I should lose some weight. DDR was just it's a really good cardio workout. Like at the certain versions, at least on the Xbox that I had played, they would give you like how many calories you burned per song, and on the not like the super higher ones, which I would never able to do anyway, but you can burn like 20-30 calories per song, at least the way that they rated it. So over the course of playing it for half an hour, you get like a decent 300 calorie workout. So combined with like a diet over the course of like 6 months, I lost like 30 pounds, and like that was just an element that I never saw that they played up that much. Like it was like a cool dancing game, but not like a workout. Like even when I would tell people this, they were like, "Really? That's what you do?" Like, yeah, it's better than being on an exercise bike.
So I gotta check because I'm from Australia and we have quite a few Chinese and Asian migration to this country. So DDR for me, I saw it in arcades. Like every arcade around me had DDR, had people playing it, like almost constantly. From around, I would say, probably from even the release yearish of like 1999, I was seeing DDR machines. There was at least, I don't know, there's at least 5 or 6 near enough to me. So DDR to me seemed very popular, like as general. And was it the same in America? Was it really popular, or was it very niche?
It became more popular as it went on. In 1999, it was very difficult to find any. Like if there's an arcade that had a DDR cabinet, it was like really hot stuff. And eventually, it kind of picked up a little bit toward the mid 2000s, especially as like, you know, the standard arcadey type games were going out of fashion, and it was more like the racing games and gun games and stuff that sort of populated the sort of things. Around here in New Jersey, though, there's some company that made a DDR ripoff called In the Groove, and one of the few arcades that's still located around here in a town called Dunellen, there's still an arcade called 8 on the Break, and that was like the center of, I don't know if it's just New Jersey or just the East Coast rhythm game stuff, because they had Beatmania cabinets there. They even had a real Samba de Amigo there at some point, the last time I visited. But they were actually using that arcade as a location testing. And I'm actually surprised that never got sued, because it is very obviously DDR. Like, there's nothing even that like mildly separates it. Because there were other DDR type games. Like, I want to say Jalico put out a game called Stepping Selection, which I'm pretty sure I bought because it was like $1 at Book Off or something like that. Or I might have owned the soundtrack at one point, just because they had really, really strange licensed mix songs on there. They're just really weird. I'd have to look it up to get some examples. Like, I think of the Ghostbusters theme.
I'm surprised Jalco is even alive.
That's pretty awesome. But okay, so I mean, part of this, and I know we haven't actually mentioned this really. Hopefully, everyone knows what DDR is. But it's such a basic game. I'm not gonna say like, oh, the patent office, whatever, won't give them a step on triangles kind of patent. But because all you do is you match your foot with correct timing to arrows that are flying up the screen to sort of, you know, like a bar that you step on, which is where it is. So I don't know, like, it's extremely basic. I don't see maybe they couldn't stop people from copying it because it's like a jump button, essentially. It's a really, really basic experience.
You're right. It's sort of, there's like that legal gray area where it's like kind of an obvious ripoff, but it's sort of like you can't copyright a falling block game. Like, you could copyright something that's like exactly like Tetris, but there are a bazillion games which are very similar, but at the same time distinct enough. But then again, some of these other games did have slightly different pad layouts. Like, I can't remember if it was Stepping Selection or some other similar game where instead of having up, down, left, right, you had upper left, upper right, lower left, lower right, and then center, which was really annoying because you need to get a totally different pad for it, which I'm sure is, like, I don't remember if that was In the Groove or some other game, but
yeah, I think it is In the Groove. There's an In the Groove machine near me at the moment, which has those diagonal pads.
So if you see the credits, you should see the credit to the In the Break arcade down by me.
Nice. I think that like the prime innovation of DDR is that it was basically the next sort of evolution of what was already Konami's Beatmania. A one button less, but, the same application, basically, except that instead of hitting things on a keyboard-esque thingy, you're now actually moving to match to the beat. But, I think DDR was really the one that helped, Konami's, what they called their Bemani, division of rhythm games take off. At least, I remember DDR was at least more popular than Beatmania originally was. Now, I live in Pennsylvania, which is New Jersey's hillbilly cousin, and, DDR was actually fairly popular for last decade when arcades were still kind of sort of a thing, but, like, they were fading out as we knew them. But if nothing else, if there was an arcade around, it would almost invariably have a DDR machine in it, and I have played a few games of it. Never was very great at it. Not so much the rhythm, but I just think that my body, which has never been totally athletic and is even less athletic now than it used to be, never really was up for the stamina of them. Still, I had fun with it. I just wish I was into it more.
I always felt they were kind of misguided in the earlier entries by catering it to it too much as a game. because like if the first time anybody plays it, they will fail and fail very quickly. Until you get into it, especially if you don't know like the ratings of the songs and things like that. Like I actually think the slower songs are more difficult because at least the faster songs have an easier like rhythm that you could get into. But anyway, like people get on there and then they'll fail their song and then they lose their money. And then the later versions, at least for the consoles, had a no fail option. I don't know if that was something that they later built into the arcades, which they should enable because like a lot of people who play those games aren't like good at it. They don't want to be good. They just want to have fun with it for a little bit, which is kind of the casual appeal that they should be going for.
Yeah, I want to say that at least DDR was one of the few things keeping arcades alive back then, but I guess like it never really was as popular as it became in Japan, so it still sort of seems like a sort of niche thing that not as many people are into now. But I can't really say for sure because in the year 2017, arcades are probably even more dead than they were before. That being said, a mall that's only like a half-hour drive away from me actually does have a working arcade and does have a living DDR machine in it. I can't remember what mix it was, though, but
I think one of the cool things about DDR is that it acts as a spectacle machine.
Definitely.
When you see someone on a DDR cabinet, especially if they're good, they're hammering away. They're like smash, 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 smash. But you're like, wow, they really know what they're doing. That's really like they're impressive. Like most arcade games and most games in general, when you look at the game, when you look at some play, you're like, they're doing something. I don't know what. Maybe they're good at it, but they're doing something. And if you're an expert at that game, you'll be like, oh yeah, they're doing the flip forward, double back. That's a really hard move. But whereas DDR, you're like, whoa, their feet are moving really fast, and that thing keeps saying perfect. So that person clearly knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Which makes a difference.
I feel like that's kind of the secret sauce of these games. Is like it's got to be fun to watch somebody playing it. It's fun to watch somebody physically operating the game. That's a big deal and to their success because it has to look like fun to do, or else I don't think anyone's going to do it. Like especially
right. You see someone playing a DDR cabinet, you're like, when they get off that and everyone leaves because I don't want people to watch me fail, I'm getting on that because it looks like fun.
I mean, this is where. Okay, go ahead.
I was just a random thought. Does anyone know how well DDR did in Europe? Because I was just thinking, at least in the Netherlands, with its hardcore gabber scene, it might have had at least some breath of a run over there. I don't know.
They do love terrible music in that continent. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, let's not put
Just kidding. There's a lot of great music from Europe. Lots and lots and lots. I'm seriously just kidding. Yes,
I'm surprised they never made a DDR ABBA mix, because that would have gone together so well.
That would have been rad, yeah. But yeah, Jeff cut that out.
There was an early Euro release of DDR, wasn't there, with nothing but European songs or something, and that didn't have ABBA in it, which is a shame.
None of them had ABBA.
Maybe it was Dancing Stage.
No one can afford ABBA songs. That was one of the biggest bands in history. To license their songs, it cost a lot of money.
Yeah, I think it's a shame for DDR itself that it may have burnt out. I mean, they made a lot of money before this, but it may have burnt out before this era of digital song downloads, so that it could never, just be like, look, everyone that downloads a song, you'll get money, so just give us the song and you'll get money in return. That's how that works. Whereas, obviously, with something like DDR, it was all CD releases, so they're like, we're giving you a fixed amount, and it's too much for us, so we're just going to make our own not very good songs.
Well,
so that's
the fan base sort of kept it alive. There's a program called Stepmania, which was basically a homemade bootleg DDR that you could put any song into, and people would just make up their own steps. And it's a little bit of a pain at the time because, the mats, this is before USB, so it used that, a printer port or some weird game port back at the time. The mat that I had actually gotten at Chinatown was technically one of those mats that had a PS2 adapter with it. And, I mean, it was sort of difficult to set up the mat in your computer in a way that made sense, but you could play any song that anybody had made steps for. So it was clearly not legal, but it was cool.
Well, I guess having said that, it does lack, or it's kind of hard to get one feature. I remember it. It didn't really have very good music video options, which, I know it's not a huge part, but DDR did have some pretty nice, flashy, graphics that were not the music videos for the songs originally, but were, attractive visuals, which I don't think.
Some of the Xbox versions, they definitely did. I swear there's a Cyndi Lauper song that one of them had that actually used, footage from Girls Just Want to Have Fun or something like that.
I hope they did, extra, zooms and pans on the footage and chromatic aberration.
They didn't do anything
Captain
fancy with it, unfortunately.
Yeah, so we got to rank this thing.
Before I do, I just wanted to say one thing. Can anyone actually say anything about the actual songs that were specifically on 3rdmix? Because I can only say this is the one that had a remix of Olivia Newton-John's Xanadu on it. Other than that, I couldn't tell you.
Olivia Newton-John and ELO. That's important.
Yeah, and
It's a
Electric Light
co-written
Orchestra.
song.
It sure is a living thing, all right.
It's a good song. It's I don't have much to say about these track lists because it has been a long time since I've played it.
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, it's been a long time since I actually played it. Like, the problem is once I moved away from a place where I could actually set it up, like I was just living in an apartment house on a top floor, like the people downstairs would be like, "I hear banging," and the chandelier up top was about to fall off. What are you guys doing up here? And we're like,
having sex, wild and crazy rhythmic sex. Constantly.
Lots of stamping, just tons of it.
Aren't you jealous, wieners?
I'm gonna have to correct myself.
Order Muppet. Order Muppet is a
Diagonal
family program.
Machine.
Jesus.
Hey,
It's called.
That is pretty G-rated. I mean, this is something that all of nature's creatures do.
I haven't.
DDR,
so
right?
Okay, you're talking. All right, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So,
Anyway, I just gotta confirm. I double checked. The Diagonal Machine is called Pump It Up. These games all have the same title. It's called Pump It Up.
That was
you go.
Korean,
Sorry,
I think.
had to double
See, I was
check
thinking of Jig Jig Insurrection. That was the one that's the
sounds
knockoff
foul.
I remember.
No, that's the gritty DDR reboot.
You're doing a jig. It's very Irish. It's like
Wait, there's
very
been a
River
reboot?
Dance.
I didn't think Konami made video games anymore.
looking over this.
So let's
I'd
rank
love to see
this
the
one.
DDR pachinko machine. Just like
Looking over this song list, I remember the song.
Cigarette hanging out of his mouth, like doing the crazy balls going everywhere.
Someone let Kurt talk.
I'm going through the song list, seeing songs I actually try to remember. I remember Dom Darabram from this band called either Joga or Yoga. That was pretty good. I don't know. There's not much else I could say. Flashdance, good for them. There's a Gradius mix, which was I remember listening to it. It barely sounded like Gradius. In the Navy by Captain Jack. There's a lot of Captain Jack songs on here. A song called Silent Hill, which much to my annoyance had absolutely nothing to do with the video game series.
Whoa, what? Like, absolutely none of Akira Yamaoka's industrial hell ambience. None of that?
I'm pretty
that could have
sure
been easily converted into a dance form, I'm sure.
He may have contributed a
what a
song or
shit.
two that was used in some there was a bunch of the musicians that did music for DDR that they also did music for different games. Naoki Maeda, he also did the soundtrack to Salamander 2.
Right.
And was it Soda Fujimori, I think his name is? He did a lot of tracks for these. He also did the remixes
Right.
for Castlevania Chronicles. He did half of Contra Shadow Soldier and all of Neo Contra.
Right, I remember that. But, yeah, I don't know how much it would be worth to talk about the music. I was just wondering if anyone down the line would nominate another DDR, because that would be it'd be tricky to rank that.
It would.
They'll be throwing away their nomination if they
basically
try.
a question of, like,
Where are
what
we putting
music
this?
you like better? Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Well, I'm ready to rank this as it is. I'm not sure if it should represent all DDRs ever, or if, I don't know.
It should, because if this is the only DDR you ever talk about, man.
Alright, well, that's fair then.
I feel like if you were to most of these rhythm games, what are you gonna do? Like with the Guitar Hero, you're really gonna sort of come in and say, this one specifically, this is the one that's.
Only if they add
No.
stuff. I hear somebody typing.
I thought I muted it. I'm sorry. Jesus.
So I'm thinking I would rank DDR 3rdmix. It's hard because I really respect the game for like what it did. Like I think it's a great concept, and as obvious it seems to us now, it was not being done before that. So, I mean, and it really did capture kind of like it's it has a cameo appearance in Wreck-It Ralph. I mean, that kind of tells you a lot right there. Like it did make an impact in popular culture.
I'm pretty sure you could find this in contemporary movies at the time, just a lot. This was if they needed to show an arcade in kind of like 2000 to 2004. There was a DDR machine in that scene, like there would be a DDR machine. It was like, that was the one that like, yeah, this is a new arcade with people who play DDR. I don't know, that's what they did. It was like because I think this one was an arcade game that penetrated outside of like gamers who like, yeah, this is KOF 2001. I totally know this one. To general audiences who are like, oh, that's one of them step-in machines. I get that, which is good.
Something just out of respect for what it did. And it did, like, the DDR formula was kind of nailed right away. Maybe it was one of those things that kind of made itself, but still, somebody had to do it. And it is a gamble. You got to remember this. Like, if it's going to be primarily passed down through arcades, like, it's going to be a really expensive machine for the arcade owners to buy. So it better be good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
yeah, it's got two big screens, solid metal construction all over the place.
This wasn't a couple everything of else in the room.
And it's huge. They lose a lot of cabinet space.
Yeah, but that just shows you the fact that these things were as widespread as they were, which I think by like 2003 or 2002, like, it was hard to find an arcade, if they still existed, they didn't have one of these, and right next to the Time Crisis machine. And
they still have the Time Crisis machine. Time Crisis 5 came out just recently locally.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
Somehow there is still an arcade scene in Japan. Somehow.
Well, we can explain the Japan arcades another time.
There are a lot of DDR successors in a way. Like, the big one that's been big there, not big, but has been popular enough that I keep seeing it every time I go back, is the Taiko Drum Master game, where you've got, like, the traditional Japanese drums with, like, the sticks, and it's really fun to watch because people get really, you gotta, like, click, click, and
well, it's got a very good sound that comes straight out of the machine.
And over there, these are the kinds of games, like, you take like a date out to, like, to go out to, like, the shopping plaza type thing. And this is like one. Yeah,
you stop in and play some rhythm games for a bit. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, and
actually.
Oh, that looks like fun. Please, give some money so we can play this. I want to see you do it, or I want to try it. That kind of thing.
I remember.
And they always have two-player options. Yeah. Always two-player options, side by side. Very important.
I remember seeing lots of places that have, like, Harry's with a lot of foot traffic, that they would kind of have, like, they have open storefronts, so they would put those like Taiko Drum Master in front that you would just, like, walk past and see them.
Yeah, you see that a lot, yeah. Because there's a lot of, like, covered shopping plaza type things, like, where, like, a whole street will be closed to traffic and will have, like, a canopy over it, so you can be in there even when it's raining. And so you see a lot of these things.
It does actually make me think, like, when I imagine, like, a DDR machine, I always imagine, like, a nice, clean arcade. If I imagine a fighting game, I always imagine more dimly lit, like, people hunched over, like, a Tekken cabinet, just sort of.
It's really hard to smoke while
mashing
playing DDR,
buttons.
I think like the guy who's like ripping on a huge cigar while playing DDR must, like, win the ultimate coolness award. Like, I'm thinking, like, I want to put this below.
It's a tough one.
Tex
I know.
Murphy, maybe.
The thing is, because this is the formula. It's just like, this is the proto rhythm game, right? Like, all rhythm games come from DDR.
Well, except
that
DDR technically comes from Beat Mania, but.
Well, Parappa is the first game that I ever knew was a real rhythm game.
That's a good point.
And that was like 97-ish, I want to say.
So Parappa, what Parappa does is it's almost literally Simon. You repeat exactly back what's told to you. It's da 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 da, right? Like, that's what it is. Like,
pretty much, but you have to do it in rhythm.
Yeah, it's like you echo the machine. Yeah, but DDR is where the music is playing and you're just moving to the beat. It doesn't tell you. It tells you what to press, but it doesn't. It doesn't show you what to press and then have you repeat. It's things stream up the screen, more or less. But if there were things before it, then it probably doesn't sit super high up. So I think around Tex Murphy's not, that's a good placement somewhere around there.
I'm seeing already a mysterious cursor appear highlighting a line right below Quirk and right above UN Squadron.
UN Squadron, the basis for every game ever! Hooray!
Yeah, I'm going to take that as a hint.
Who's our mysterious editor? Anyway,
it's
I do
spreadsheet
think
ghost. Notes in the spreadsheet.
Let's put it at least, I think, above Quark. I think it's a little better than Quark there.
Oh.
I love Quark, but Quark is a defined refinement of Sokobans, whereas this one is a little bit of a bigger step towards rhythm games. And also, Quark didn't popularize Sokobans in any shape or form. It just kind of was there.
Okay, I can live with that. Who else can live with that? Because
I really want to hear from Kurt because he's the biggest DDR fan here, I think.
Okay, it's hard to actually like rank this for me because it's just like outside of every game that I would normally like think of as a game, I guess. So I mean, like I said, I always kind of looked at it more like a exercise program than comparing it to like an RPG or whatever shoot 'em up I played at the time. So I would probably just put it square in the middle of wherever. You know, I haven't played seriously in almost a decade, and I would find it difficult to go back to.
So what I'm hearing there is it's totally cool to just put it above Quark. That sounds...
Yeah, that's acceptable.
All right, and below Gradius 2, another Konami game, no less.
Yeah, because I feel like, would you really want to put it above Gradius 2? I have no idea. I'm not a big enough fan of Gradius 2.
I mean, it is Gradius 2. I mean,
yeah, it's not
Dance
Gradius.
Dance Revolution is kind of its own...
Do you think it should go above because it's so its own that it should be just a little bit?
It's. I mean, it is what it is. This is a really hard one to rank because there's not many comparison points, but I think that's one reason to put it up a little bit higher.
Okay, well, let's bump it up one. I'm cool with that. Move it above Gradius 2. You had said, did you want to put it above Tex Murphy? I don't know if I'd put it above Tex Murphy. That's, I mean, they're completely different in every way, but, you know.
All right, so it's going at number 77 as of this recording, right below Tex Murphy, the Pandora Directive, right above Gradius 2. It's been nice knowing you, DDR. I'm looking forward to that. Really looking forward to that DDR pachinko machine. I think it's going to be good.
God.
If you stop stepping on the machine, it refuses to dispense pachinko balls.